first time I met Dana, when his daughter and my daughter played soccer together in DYA, to my time on council, I've learned a couple things. That if you are gonna serve with Dana, there's two things you have to do. You have to be all in, and you have to dream big.
Dana has spent the last 34 years serving the people of Dublin. He's been the kind of person that is willing to have the debate. He's someone who is authentic in the way he talks to you. He's blatantly honest. And he's also willing to sit down and have a conversation across the table and just talk about the issues.
Well, first of all, he's one of the most focused, driven people I've ever met in my life, and he totally loves Dublin. His life is dedicated to this community.
His leadership and his leadership style, there are lots of times where there are complicated, challenging issues that come up. They can be emotionally charged, they can be very difficult, and without exception, Dana always responded to those issues in a calm, measured, reasonable way where he always focused on solutions.
One of my favorite Dana McDaniel stories was when we had traveled to the Nevada desert. We had gone out there to visit Hyperloop. On our way back to the hotel, a group of us were traveling and our hotel happened to be in a casino. And it's Dana's birthday. So we walk through the casino and Dana says, oh gosh, I have a favorite kind of slot machine. So we walk all over the whole casino and we find his favorite brand of slot machine, which happens to be Wheel of Fortune. And so he says, okay, I'm just gonna do one pull, just one pull, that's all I'm gonna do, because it's his birthday after all. So he puts his money in there and he does his pull and he wins for more than $1,000 on his birthday. And we just laughed and laughed and laughed, and it was such an enjoyable time. But really that's my favorite Dana McDaniel story because it's so Dana. The things that he does succeed.
As a city council member, I've been fortunate enough to work with Dana every day, and from day one, he has been above and beyond and committed to helping the city, his staff, to me succeed in my new role as a city council member. Literally Wednesday morning after election night, I received an email from him congratulating me and asking when he could get on my calendar so I could start learning about the city.
Dana has given his entire career to both the country and this city specifically. And that really is Dana's legacy, is he will be etched in the heart of this city for generations.
Dana, your story tells itself. You came from nothing, you became something, and now you're everything. You truly are the man in the arena.
Well, I started my interest in local government when I was a kid, really. My mom volunteered a lot in the community. She volunteered at our school, she volunteered in the local hospital, and she volunteered with our historical society. So as a kid, my dad and my siblings and I were often voluntold to contribute to the community. With all of that, I kind of had an early interest in local government, but didn't really think that that's what I wanted to do. After I graduated high school, I went right into the military with the Ohio Army National Guard. Within a week after graduation, I was off to basic training and advanced individual training, and then started my college career shortly after that. After I had gotten commissioned as an officer, I was assigned to a unit whose armory was in Lebanon, Ohio. And so I would go over to Lebanon pretty routinely for training, obviously, and for meetings and the like. I just remember one very sunny Friday afternoon. I happened to be over at the armory dropping off some paperwork or doing something, and was headed back to Oxford, and I just got the nerve up to just pull into City Hall. Walked in, introduced myself to the receptionist, and I said, hey, I'm Dana McDaniel. I'd like to meet the city manager.
Well, Dana and I have been together a long time. Actually, he and his wife were both my interns in Lebanon, Ohio. I was city manager there. And so I engaged both of them. They worked on our annual report. They did a fantastic job, and we had a good experience. And then later, a few years go by, they graduate, and Dana's working in the city of Gahanna. and we had a management assistant job open that he applied for, and we worked that out. In fact, I remember telling him that if he took that job, it was the type of situation at his young age that he could stay in Dublin and advance his whole career without ever moving from Dublin. And that's exactly what happened.
Dublin at that time was rapidly growing. Just the year before, it actually had obtained city status in 1987, had a population of about 10,000 residents, and our staff at the time that I started, I believe, was about 65 full-time staff members. We all fit in the old City Hall over on Kaufman Road. And in my role as management assistant, I had the privilege of working directly for Tim Hansley, the city manager, and for Dave Harding, who was our human resources and procurement officer at the time, and got to work with them for many years, and learned a lot about the ins and outs of local government, HR, procurement, working legislation on behalf of the city manager's office, supporting special projects with various division heads at the time. And it was just an exciting place to be. Tim and I had a conversation about the possibility of maybe even leaving Dublin at that time to start to look for an assistant city manager position or a city manager position somewhere. And Tim offered that I become the city's service director. We were so rapidly growing that we had to kind of invent everything at the time. So it was a lot of fun and a lot of challenge to try to figure out how to keep up with all the growths.
Well, he has a lot to be proud of. If you go back in the 1990s when Dublin was a rapidly growing city, just trying to keep up with and manage the growth and development that took place, building the systems and the departments and the operations from scratch was a much different challenge. And it's part of what attracted me to Dublin, and I think it's part of what attracted Dana. Dana did a tremendous amount, for example, on the area of public service. Dublin had to grow and build a public service department very, very quickly as the number of households and roads and streets were getting built. Utilities needed a tremendous amount of attention. We had sewer overflows in the early 1900s. So Dana had to professionalize and build and ultimately get certified what is today, I think, viewed as kind of a crown jewel of Dublin.
So after serving as the city's first service director, I was deputy city manager and director of service. Jane Brodigam had become our city manager, and I went to Jane and I said, hey, well, how do you feel about me taking my deputy city manager title and taking on economic development? I went over to economic development and joined forces with Colleen Gilger over there, and who had already been there, and we really had a great 10 years of doing economic development.
We had quite a few major projects during my time as city manager when Dana was the director of development and overseeing the development department. The largest project was probably the Bridge Park development, and also one of the most substantial, I would say, was the OU project. Dana is very dynamic, wants to get big things done. He sees things with an urgency. One of his favorite sayings always was his hair was on fire. So that was kind of how he worked. He was very good at looking forward and trying to see what the bigger project could be. So he was very good at identifying directions for us to take as the city and for the staff to take as we work through projects.
We also got into creation as a fundamental tenet of economic development, and we created the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center and very much got into if you're not retaining and expanding your businesses and you're not attracting, which we were doing all of those, then you create your own businesses. And so we really took a leap into that with the Entrepreneurial Center and some of the new programming that we were doing. And of course, workforce had always been a fundamental tenet of economic development, and we really partnered pretty heavily with our school systems and tolls and others in terms of how we were trying to help support our business community with workforce needs. One new infrastructure area we leaned into pretty early on is really a result of the Telecommunication Act of 1996 when they decentralized telecommunications, and we leaned into fiber optics. And so we, in partnership with some real innovators, we introduced a new infrastructure that we had not been that involved with fiber optic connectivity to our own facilities, and then later realized the influence and the power of that by making it available to some of our business community as an attraction retention tool.
Probably, I think the most stunning thing he did that showed great foresight for the community was Doublelink. We were so far ahead of every other city in this country in a way that the fiber network idea was brilliant. And I was thinking, and I was there for the vote, and I was thinking it's over $1 million to do this for a pretty small community, but it set a standard and set us way ahead of any other communities.
I certainly have had the privilege of being appointed as the City of Dublin's 5th city manager. You know, our form of government, the council manager plan's rooted in our charter. And what the council manager plan does is combines the strong political leadership of our elected officials, our elected city council, with the strong administrative leadership of a professional city manager administrator. Of course, when you become city manager, your focus changes a little bit. I appreciated the opportunity to lead, to coach, mentor, and develop the other department heads and division heads in the city. I would say, you know, really as accomplishments go, I don't really like to think of things quite that way, but we continue to be successful in the implementation of Bridge Park and historic Dublin area, as well as a lot of efforts out in the western part of the city. We continued to set conditions for the future, and I think we've been pretty successful at that with a lot of rezonings to try to keep our legacy office parks competitive, and hopefully we'll see things happen there that will ensure their viability and competitiveness well into the future. To continue to expand services everywhere we could. We often get caught up in the day-to-day business of all that we do, and we often talk to our staff about, you know, that we are really comprised of about, it depends on the day, but we're really comprised about anywhere from 25 to 35 lines of business, if you think about it. And so we do a lot of different things, and we certainly get caught up in all those different things that we do. But the one thing that we do, and the reason I have this motto of all in all the time, is that the primary business that we have, that I remind everyone about, is that we are a democracy first. That's our primary business.
It's hard to describe what the job is because it changes daily, it changes annually, it changes, every city's different. It's just a challenge. You have to be somebody that's willing to adapt to whatever the crisis is, whatever the opportunities are. But I think Dana would talk about what we are proud of is developing people below us. Part of that marks our career in this field is how do you develop the people around you? Who do you bring in the first place? And then how do you let them grow? And there's numerous names that we could both list, but that's what being in this profession is about, is developing the young people that will take the jobs when we move on, as Dana is doing. He's retiring. I think he's going to be proud of his legacy.
Well, of course, I want to thank my family, my wife, Lisa, our daughters, Caitlin and Colleen. Lisa is certainly my hero. She's had a stellar public career herself, working in state government and in not-for-profit, and she's been a great example to me and a great supporter. So she's my coach, teacher, mentor, and I can't thank you enough for that. And to the girls who certainly sacrificed a lot with Dad being gone and away between two careers. But they themselves are doing great things now in service to the public, and I couldn't be more proud of them. So with that, I just want to say thank you for this great opportunity, and I know that Dublin's going to be in great hands. Congratulations, Megan. I'm very proud of you. I know you're going to do a great job as our new city manager, because I don't plan on moving away. This is going to be our community for a long time to come. So thank you for your willingness to be our city manager and taking the city forward. And I'm sure that this city is going to continue to prosper and do very well.
In thinking about what to say for the video, I thought about the many projects, events, and developments that I could talk about. But really what I just wanted to say was thank you. Thank you, Dana, for your many years of public service and your dedication to the city.
What do I wish for Dana's future? Big fish, happy times, long and fruitful time with his wife and his children, and hopefully one day his grandchildren.
Hats off to a great leader. I wish him well. He's a wonderful guy. He has a wonderful family, a wonderful wife, and 2 lovely daughters. And, we can't say thank you enough for his commitment to our community.
Thank you, Dana, for 30 years of big dreaming and insisting that we make Dublin be all that it can be.
I hope that as you turn the page from this chapter to the next, you will get back so much of what you've sacrificed over the years for our great city and our country.
So selfishly, Dana, I wish you were not retiring because I would like to spend more time with you working as a city council member, but I look forward to having conversations over all the books I've told you to read and you having time to enjoy all your new adventures.
If he ever wants to inventory what his legacy is and what he has meant to this community, all he needs to do is simply look around. He has a resident population that is thrilled to be here. Kids go off to college and come back here to raise their children. He has a thriving business community that is the backbone of our financial well-being. And he also has a built environment that is absolutely second to none. So if Dana ever wants to look around and get an idea of what he has meant to Dublin and what he has meant to this community, it's all over. He can see it right here. And what he has given to this community over those so many years and decades is really extraordinary. And the entire Dublin community owes him a tremendous debt of gratitude.
There are a lot of notable quotes from some very famous people. But I have one that I kind of enjoy from someone who I think is genuinely authentic with some down-home good advice. And that is, if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you're an excellent leader. And that one's from Dolly Parton. And in my book, that describes Dana.